Hi there. Let's talk about Africa focused side hustles that you can start on the continent of Africa. Of course, we all appreciate that side hustles are a good way of making an extra coin. You could be working full-time job or even so doing your own entrepreneurial gig out there, but if you can tap into side hustles, be sure you can get an extra amount of income. And that's what this channel is all about. Sharing side hustle ideas, sharing ideas on how to make money, and also sharing financial literacy ideas. You are all much welcomed to the Money Daily YouTube channel. My name is Afagza Sifunam. And with that, the first side hustle idea which you can start while on the continent of Africa is the idea of selling local snacks and foods. Of course, the continent of Africa is very rich when it comes to foods. All over the continent, people have their own unique different types of foods. So depending on where you are, you could start the side hustle of selling food. Because when it's all said and done, people need to eat, and that tells you that any business or hustle around food is going to continue being to perpetuity. So, regardless where you are on the continent, you could, for example, sell roasted maize, sell samosas, sell whichever local snack, and be sure you can be able to be in business. More so, you can target do this business, for example, on busy streets or even outside schools, marketplaces, and even you can utilize the power of the internet to do online deliveries. When you're looking to get into this business, you need to ensure that first of all you are very hygienic, because you don't want your customers to have any issue after consuming your food. And also, you can think about nicely packaging your food so that your customers receive amazing product and they continue ordering from you. If you do your research very well and be dedicated to your hustle, be sure you can make amazing amount of money from you selling local snacks and foods. And then the second side hustle you could look to jump onto is the side hustle of you reselling data and airtime. Of course, we all know across the continent, we're talking about a continent with a population of upwards of 1.2 billion people. That tells you the adult population in this continent is very high, and even the teenage population out there which is consuming internet and data is very high. And also, that speaks to the data need out there and even airtime need. You could be a person to bridge this need. Of course, you think about a model whereby you buy in bulk and then resell. For example, resell via USSD, resell via WhatsApp, or even via different applications out there, such as, for example, V2U in Nigeria, Jumia Pay, you name it. I'm pretty sure in whichever country you are out there, you have seen people saying, for example, you can do a given prompt and then get airtime. Those are the kind of side hustles I'm talking about. You being able to sell airtime and data in bulk. Of course, when you buy this in bulk, you're going to get it at favorable prices so that you can, over time, extend even these benefits to the people who are buying from you. Okay? And then in line with that, the third side hustle which you could look to do in Africa is the side hustle of you doing mobile money agent business, or even so, thinking about it as even combining with it, for example, the point of sale services for small businesses. Guys, mobile money has actually grown on the African continent. Of course, each of the big telcos out there has developed their own mobile money options. Like, for example, in Kenya, M-Pesa is very big. In Ghana, Momo is very big. Same with Rwanda, etc., because these are anchored on the MTN network. Guys, where you are in the African continent, the business of mobile money transfer is going to continue being big, because each and every day, people are moving billions of money to their relatives, to their business partners, etc. So you can look to jump onto this business and then be able to make amazing amount of money. More so if you are in urban center or even rural areas out there, as long as you are within a good catchment population, be sure all those people out there are going to be requiring these mobile money services, and you might just be the provider of these services. Okay? And then the fourth side hustle, which you can look to jump onto, is the side hustle of you doing local language transcription and voiceovers. The continent of Africa is very rich, and we're talking about there existing thousands of local languages. That tells you that there is very huge demand for transcription services, whether it is from foreign languages to African languages or vice versa. Because at the end of the day, there are entities out there which are looking at means on how they can get to local people, or even so they can pass messages. Whether it is transcription of books, whether it is, for example, transcription of any messages out there from organizations, etc. And possible consumers of your services might be even NGOs, which might be looking to get to the local community, YouTubers, or even other companies which are aiming to get to the African continent. Of course, you might be wondering, how do you start this? First and foremost, you need to be very fluent in a language you intend to transcribe. And secondly, you can look, for example, get on online platforms out there, or even do local gigs in case you know people out there who are looking for people who want to do transcription. Online platforms out there, like for example, Fiverr, Upwork, even YouTube voiceovers, and even audiobook platforms out there, and looking for people to do this particular transcription services. You can provide these services and at the end get paid for your side hustle which you're going to be pursuing. And then the fifth business idea which you can look to jump onto is the idea of you doing resale services for local products, whether it is local oils or whichever other products out there. And I'm saying so because right now we are in a particular point in time where people are cherishing local products, whether it's local oils, or even so they are cherishing those products which they deem healthy. So you could start a business of reselling these products and then be able to tap into the existing client base. Because as time goes by, more and more people in Africa are becoming health conscious, and they are becoming more choosy when it comes to the kind of products they are consuming, or even so the kind of products they are even applying on their skins. If you know amazing products out there, you could act as a person who is bridging the gap by you buying and also reselling to local communities, maybe even repackaging in different quantities. And you're gonna be amazed as to how you can scale up such a business, because you have different platforms out there which can enable you, can really enable you to scale up your business. Maybe through jumping on WhatsApp groups, jumping on Instagram and other platforms out there for you to tap onto digital spaces, and also having a local presence in case you can afford a local presence out there where people can be coming to walk in, walk out, and be able to buy the products which you're going to be reselling. Okay? And then the sixth side hustle idea which you can look to jump onto is the idea of your recycling. Recycling business is the kind of business which can become very big in Africa, because you're talking about there existing thousands and thousands of tons of plastic, scrap, tires, you name it. If you can look to jump onto this particular area, be sure all these plastics, bottles, used tires, all metals are good products for you to recycle. And by the way, there are people out there who are doing this recycling and actually ending up producing their own unique products out there. For example, a good chunk of maybe ornaments, talk about, for example, necklaces or even beads, are actually made from recycled materials. And that's a given area where you can jump onto and be able to make amazing amount of money. Of course, while you're starting out, it can seem to be difficult. But the amazing thing that with this particular business area, it is an area of appetite for different entities out there. And with that, you can look, for example, to partner with local NGOs which are pro, maybe good climate or even green environment. You can look to partner with, for example, companies, and you're going to end up exercising this area which you're looking to jump onto around recycling. And then, guys, the seventh side hustle which you could look to jump onto and be able to make money, and in this context insane amount of money, is you importing and reselling African wares and crafts. Guys, the demand for Africa commodities is very high in the world out there, and also the converse is true, because also the demand for other products from different parts of the world are also very high in Africa. If you can jump on this particular import export business, be sure you can make an insane amount of money. And just to give you an example, the market, for example, second-hand clothes in Africa is very huge. Second-hand shoes is very huge. You can jump on this particular area and be able to also partake in that particular business. And in the process, you can be able to make amazing amount of money over time. More so if you can build a stable clientele base, talking about clients who can be purchasing from you in bulk and going out there to sell in smaller quantities. Of course, when starting out, it's going to seem like an uphill task, but you just need to invest in understanding the business, understanding the regulations, understanding how to import or even export, and be sure once you grasp that, you're gonna be in very big business, because I actually know people out there who have become multimillionaires just doing import business. You too can jump on it and be able to make it big. And then the eighth side hustle which we look to jump onto, and more so it is very, very big in the African continent, is the side hustle of you doing solar panel resales and installations. Guys, Africa is one of the continents which has a very amazing climate, because we're talking about climate in Africa being kind of like balanced throughout the year, as opposed to other regions maybe in the North Pole or South Pole which experience winter and very limited maybe sunny conditions out there. The Africa continent has very rich climate throughout the year. And with that, you could look to tap into the idea of you doing solar panels, more so because also in Africa, we are talking about the cost of electricity being pretty high on average compared to other markets out there. And this is actually driving homeowners or even people doing construction to consider jumping on solar energy. You can jump in this particular space of getting solar panels into the continent, or even partnering with businesses which are selling them, and taking a notch higher by doing value addition, which is basically you installing or even supporting entities out there, supporting households to maintain their solar panels year in, year out. And with this business, you can make insane amounts of money too, given it is an area which is on the rise and is going to continue having huge demand going into the future. And then the ninth side hustle which you can look to jump onto in Africa is the idea of you doing motorbike or tricycle leasing. We all know and appreciate that motorbikes and tricycles are very big in Africa, and rightfully so, because it is a reliable mode of transport and most importantly affordable. Just as people out there are looking to utilize these forms of transport, we also have people who are looking to be business people in this area. So if you have some substantial financial muscle, of course you don't need to have insane amounts of money. Even with as little as, for example, 1 million Kenya shilling, or even so you're talking about 10,000 US dollars, you can start this kind of business, because you just need a few units of motorbikes and then have some forms of control as to how you can be able to receive your money once you list them out. And you can start small, and then you're going to see how this business is going to grow over time, because motorbikes are an area which is on high demand in Africa because of transport, and secondly also because of recreation activities. Also, other recreation areas out there are looking, for example, motorbikes for typical bicycles to be leased. So you can jump on that and also be able to make amazing amount of money. And then the last side hustle which you can look to jump onto, and you're going to be able to make money, and of course one of the areas which drive the African continent, is you jumping on farming. And of course, beyond just farming, targeting to sell your farm produce at local markets. You could be sitting there, for example, wondering, you don't have large tracts of land. You don't need to have large tracts of land for you to be able to do farming. Even from an urban area, from just the comfort of your balcony, or even from the comfort of maybe the area which you have in front of your house, you can utilize that to do farming, even urban agriculture, because you're talking about a very wide range of products you could jump onto, starting from microgreens to even doing traditional large-scale farming, like maybe farming tomatoes, farming pepper, farming cassava, herbs, you name it. All these are areas where you can jump onto and be able to make money. Of course, at a starting point, you need to learn and understand the area you want to get into, and as you are doing that, also cultivate the market. By, for example, starting to speak to local vendors, starting to speak to restaurants, start to speak to big homes out there, and as soon as you plant, also continue priming them, so that once your products are ready, you can be able to sell them to the market out there. You can start small and then see how over time you can be able to make it big by you doing agriculture, whether it is in the rural area or even so you doing urban agriculture. Guys, what do you think about these 10 amazing ideas which you could look to jump onto for you to be able to make money through side hustles in Africa? Do you think these ideas are Africa relevant? Are there ideas which I've mentioned which you have already practiced? And even so, are there other amazing ideas out there which I haven't talked about, and do you think they could be very, very convenient and good for the African continent? Share down below in the comment section. Let's continue discussing. Cheers, guys, and you all stay safe.